Zach Bryan posted one sentence during the Super Bowl and deleted it minutes later. But screenshots spread anyway, and by the end of the night, it was everywhere. On the biggest night in American sports, while millions of people were watching the official halftime show on television, something else was happening online. It wasn't part of the broadcast, it wasn't promoted by the NFL, and most viewers didn't even know it existed. A separate live-streamed halftime show hosted by Turning Point USA and headlined by Kid Rock was happening at the same time as the Super Bowl's official performance. It was designed as an alternative, a counter-program, something louder, more confrontational, and more symbolic. Clips of the performance began spreading across social media almost immediately, and somewhere in the middle of all of this, Zach Bryan saw one of them. He opened his phone, watched a short clip, and reacted. He posted a single sentence to his Instagram story. It wasn't long, it wasn't detailed, it wasn't a statement, just a blunt, unfiltered reaction. And then he deleted it. But the internet had already saved it. Screenshots spread, comment sections filled up. Fans began arguing, and one sentence became one of the most talked about moments of the night. This is the story of what Zach Bryan said, why he deleted it, and how a few seconds of honesty turned into a cultural flashpoint. To understand why this moment mattered, you first have to understand who Zach Bryan is. Zach Bryan did not rise through the traditional music industry system. He didn't arrive polished, media-trained, or carefully branded. His rise came from raw recordings uploaded online, acoustic songs that sounded like private journal entries turned into music. His appeal has always been authenticity. He writes about heartbreak, loneliness, regret, self-doubt, and failure. And he speaks the same way he writes, direct, unfiltered, sometimes impulsive. Fans don't just listen to Zach Bryan's music. They feel like they know him, which is why anything he says, even casually, carries weight. On Super Bowl night, he wasn't trying to make news. He was just reacting like any other person watching something strange on their phone. The alternative halftime show was intentionally bold. Kid Rock performed in front of a cheering crowd waving flags. The stage leaned heavily into patriotic imagery. The music was loud. The tone was confrontational. The message was clear. This was not the official halftime show. This was the opposite of it. The event branded itself as a response to the mainstream broadcast. And it worked. Clips from the performance began circulating almost instantly. Some viewers loved it. Some mocked it. Some were confused by it. Others saw it as symbolic of a larger cultural divide. Zach Bryan saw the clips and didn't take them seriously. When he watched one of them, he posted a short reaction to his Instagram story. Just one sentence. A quick, unfiltered thought. No hashtags, no explanation, no political framing. And then, within minutes, it was gone. Zach Bryan didn't explain why he deleted the post, but anyone who has followed him long enough could guess the reason. He's impulsive, he posts emotionally, then he rethinks it, then he deletes it. This isn't new behavior for him. Zach Bryan has always treated social media more like a diary than a press release. He forgets that millions of people are watching, but the internet doesn't forget. By the time the post disappeared, screenshots were already everywhere. Fans shared them. Group chats lit up. Subreddits filled with speculation. TikTok creators turned it into content. What had lasted only minutes on his account suddenly became permanent everywhere else. And once the screenshots spread, interpretation began. Some fans applauded him for being honest. They saw it as refreshing, an artist reacting like a normal person instead of delivering a carefully worded statement. They argued that musicians critique performances all the time, and this was no different. Others criticized him for posting at all. They argued that with his influence, even a casual reaction carries meaning. That one sentence could be read as disrespectful or divisive, whether he intended it that way or not. And then there were those who insisted he was making a political statement. Even though his post did not mention politics, did not mention Kid Rock by name, and did not mention Turning Point USA. It was simply a reaction to a performance he found embarrassing. But on the internet, intention often matters less than perception. A single sentence became a symbol, and suddenly Zach Bryan was part of a conversation he never meant to join. What made this moment unusual wasn't what he said, it was how fast it traveled. Within an hour, the deleted story was being discussed on TikTok, Reddit, X, and music forums. News sites picked it up. Commentators weighed in. Entire threads formed around something that no longer even existed. All from one sentence. This is the strange reality of modern fame. You don't need to release a song, you don't need to give an interview, you don't need to start a feud. You just need to react once. And the internet will do the rest. There was another layer that made this moment more complicated. Zach Bryan exists in a musical space that overlaps with the audience that might normally support something like Kid Rock's performance. Country music, folk music, and Americana have long been associated with patriotism, rural identity, and working-class values. Many of Zach's fans come from those same backgrounds. So when Zach reacted negatively, some people felt confused. To them, it looked like someone from the same musical world rejecting something they thought he would naturally support. Others saw it differently. They saw a younger generation of artists distancing themselves from spectacle and political theater, even when it comes wrapped in guitars and American flags. That tension became the real story. Not what he said, but what it represented. Two narratives formed. One side said he was simply expressing a personal opinion about a performance he didn't like. The other side said that with his platform, even a casual reaction becomes a statement. And in between were fans who felt uncomfortable watching their favorite artist get dragged into a controversy he never intended to create. Because this wasn't planned. There was no rollout, no press tour, no explanation, just a thought and a delete, which made it feel more honest and more dangerous at the same time. This wasn't the first time Zach Bryan's online presence had created headlines. In the past, he has posted emotional messages late at night about his own struggles. He has shared moments of self-doubt, frustration with fame, and regret about things he said before. He has taken breaks from social media when it began to interfere with his mental health. Fans are used to seeing him wrestle with visibility in real time, and this Super Bowl moment felt like another chapter in that pattern. A reminder that Zach Bryan never built his image around control. He built it around truth. But truth doesn't always survive the internet intact. Once a screenshot leaves your phone, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to everyone, and everyone will interpret it differently. Some will see courage, some will see carelessness, some will see politics where none were intended. That's the cost of being unfiltered in a filtered world. There is also something revealing about the timing of this moment. The Super Bowl is one of the only times when the entire country is watching the same thing at the same time. It's not just a football game, it's a cultural event, a shared experience, which means every moment becomes magnified, a commercial becomes a headline, a halftime show becomes a debate, a single sentence becomes a story. Zach Bryan's reaction didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened on the one night when everything feels bigger than it actually is. And that's why it spread so quickly. Because millions of people were already online, already scrolling, already reacting. His post didn't create controversy. It simply entered a storm that already existed. Zach Bryan never followed up with a public explanation. He didn't clarify what he meant. He didn't apologize. He didn't double down. He just moved on, which, in a way, said everything. Some saw that as maturity. Others saw it as avoidance. Most saw it as very Zach Bryan. Within days, the conversation faded. The Super Bowl passed. The halftime shows became old news. Social media moved on. Zach Bryan returned to what he always does. Writing music, touring, staying focused on his work. No statement, no press release, no interview, just silence. And yet, the moment left a footprint. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was human. It showed that even one of the biggest artists in the country still reacts emotionally, still posts impulsively, still sometimes wishes he hadn't said something. It revealed the tension between authenticity and visibility. When you build your career on being real, every real moment becomes public property. There is no private thought anymore, only posted ones and deleted ones, and sometimes the deleted ones become the most permanent. This incident wasn't really about politics. It wasn't really about Kid Rock. It wasn't really about the halftime show. It was about how quickly a small thought can become a national discussion. A reminder that in the age of social media, there is no such thing as a throwaway comment for a public figure. Even a sentence can become a headline. Even a deleted post can become permanent. Even a passing thought can turn into a cultural moment. And maybe that's what makes this story so interesting. Not the words themselves, but what happened because of them. Zach Bryan didn't set out to make news that night. He was just another person watching the Super Bowl from his phone, seeing something strange and reacting honestly. But honesty travels fast, and sometimes the moments we erase are the ones people remember most. Because they feel unfiltered. Because they feel real. Because they remind us that behind the fame, behind the music, behind the millions of followers, there's still just a person with a thought they didn't plan to share. And for a few minutes, the whole internet saw it. This is what Zach Bryan said about the halftime show before deleting it.